Welcome to Pretty Lies and Alibis. Let's seek the truth and travel the long road to justice together. What you know, Alibiers? Welcome to another episode of Pretty Lies and Alibis. I'm Gigi. Good to have you here. It's Thursday, almost to the end of the week, and it's going to be another busy weekend for me, and I'll tell you why. I've decided to cover the trial of Hannah Gutierrez, who was the armorer on the set of the Rust movie, where cinematographer Helena Hutchins was shot and killed by live ammunition. And also one other was shot but survived. I've been watching this off and on today. It's very interesting. It's a very different kind of trial than the ones I normally cover. And it's kind of a first of its kind trial. There have been shootings on set over the years, but this one has ended up with involuntary manslaughter charges for Hannah and also Alec Baldwin. This trial is going to be very important to the trial of Alec Baldwin that will be in the future. I'll be doing daily updates on this one. It's being live streamed, so it's really easy to cover, and I think it's going to be a very interesting trial. Big thank you to everybody who's donated. It enables me to do what I love every single day, which is this right here. One way to support the podcast is very easy, and all it takes is the click of your finger is to hit subscribe on YouTube if you haven't already. Like the video, share it with your friends, and you can ring my bell if you want notifications every time I upload new content. Just click on that little bell notification. It will alert you on your device whenever I post new stuff. Music fact of the day. Pink, one of my favorite female singers. Love her so much. Great live, by the way. If you ever have a chance to go see her, I highly recommend it. Her first job, she worked at a drive-thru at McDougal's. She said, it was important to my family that I make my own money. I had a Janet Jackson microphone. I have power. Saw Stevie Nicks last night with my girls. Such an amazing concert. Such a beautiful memory for me and my girls. And it was awesome. A lady sitting near us commented on Sarah Rose, my youngest, who's 12, how she knew every single song, every word. She thought that was really, really cool. I also got to meet some Alibiers there last night. Big hello to Madison, Megan, and Gina. You guys rock. It was so cool meeting up with you guys. And of all places, to see Stevie Nicks. We had a verdict today in the Adam Montgomery trial. He was found guilty on all counts related to the murder of Harmony. Of course, he wasn't there as the verdict was read, but he will have to be there for sentencing. It would be nice if he would tell where he left her so she could receive a proper burial. But finally, justice for Harmony, that sweet little baby. The family who adopted Harmony's brother put out a statement. They really seem like great people. The statement says, "This is not a day we celebrate. It's a day that only adds to the incredible pain and heartache that surrounds a little girl who was never given a chance. The past few weeks have been unbearable for everyone, including our family. We heard such vivid and painful details of a life which was a reality for Harmony Montgomery. That is no reality that any human should bear, but especially a child of God. Harmony had an incredibly beautiful smile, and it matches the love that she had for her brother and our son, Jameson. Jameson equally cared for her and still does. In just the last few days, Jameson has repeatedly asked about his sister, seemingly out of the blue. In his nightly prayers, he prayed to God that he brings Harmony back to life. As he said, please God, do this one thing. Jameson, along with the rest of the world, will never understand what happened or why. When Jameson smiles, we see glimpses of Harmony. He often says how he has a similar smile as her, but doesn't have the glasses. He always says how he doesn't want anyone to hurt her glasses. While we didn't know Harmony, Jameson has kept her memory alive as he has shared these stories. If it wasn't for his brave voice begging to be with his sister, we may not be here today. What we've seen by Adam Montgomery has been an attempt to manipulate the criminal justice system. He took away the only thing that Jameson ever had stable in his young life before he became a miller. Jameson would go to the front door, hoping Harmony would find us. He would search for her in a park. As we now dig deep within our hearts to find the ability to offer forgiveness, we look to our son to give him the strength to fight off the demons that this tragedy has brought for a lifetime. We remain grateful for the work of the New Hampshire prosecutors, the New Hampshire Attorney General's office, and the Manchester Police Department, who made sure they fought for Harmony, especially when no one else ever did. The fight doesn't end here. Our family is committed to making sure the unthinkable chain of events never happens again. We know that people are outraged by the violence and the years of pain that Harmony endured. We share that. But we also hope it serves as motivation to us all to hold our state and federal lawmakers accountable so that laws are changed to better protect kids who don't have a voice. Harmony never had that voice. If we don't do anything, there will be another Harmony Montgomery. Jameson and our 2 other boys have so many questions that they're not old enough to answer or understand. You will never know how truly thankful we are for all the messages of love and support that we have received on Jameson's behalf. One day, Jameson will learn of the evil in this world that resulted in the death of his sister. But until then, we will strive every day to focus on the positivity of Harmony, her smile, and her love for her brother. Harmony didn't deserve any of this. Blair and Jonathan Miller. Beautifully said. I know they were fighting to try to adopt Harmony when she was missing. Unfortunately, we know the outcome of that, but it sounds like Jameson's in very good hands, and may she rest in peace. Moving on to the Petito Schmidt lawsuit against the Laundries, that is over. Gabby and Brian's parents have reached a settlement in that lawsuit. We just, on the last episode, finished up with Roberta's deposition. Steve Bertolino, the Laundries attorney and also a subject of this very lawsuit, said in a statement, Christopher and Roberta Laundrie and I participated in mediation with the Petito family, and the civil lawsuit has now been resolved. The terms of the resolution are confidential, and we look forward to putting this matter behind us. Details of the settlement, by the way, they're not known. They will remain private. On behalf of the Petitos and the Schmidts, Joe and Tara Petito, along with Nikki and Jim Schmidt, have endured a difficult and emotional 2.5 years, resulting in a resolution through mediation on February 21st, 2024. Throughout this time, the primary objective of Gabby Petito's family in pursuing litigation was to seek answers to lingering questions. Having obtained those answers through depositions, their focus now shifts to spending time with and prioritizing their families and fostering the Gabby Petito Foundation. As a result, they have decided not to take part in any interviews. Nonetheless, they wish to extend their heartfelt gratitude and appreciation to all who have supported them during these trying times. It's really beautiful to see those kind of silver linings where these families that have endured such terrible pain move on to help other families. I waited on doing a story about the Audrii Cunningham case until we had an arrest and had some facts out there. There was very little known. I put the pictures out on social media. An Amber Alert was issued on February 15th. Audrii did not show up to the bus stop for school. Audrii lived with her father and her grandmother. Also, a man lived in a trailer on that property by the name of Don Stephen McDougal. He was a friend of Audrii's dad. He has a history of crimes against children. McDougal has been charged with first-degree murder of a person equal to more than 10 years but less than 15 years old in Audrii's murder. When you are allowing a man to live on your property and you have a child living on your property, how can you not look into their background if you didn't know already? McDougal admitted to police that Audrii left with him that morning but wouldn't talk about anything beyond that. McDougal took investigators to various locations, including the Livingston Dam. And on Friday, police found Audrii's backpack near that dam. She was found deceased yesterday. Trigger warning here. I'm going to tell how they found her. Her body was found yesterday weighed down with a large rock in the Trinity River. They lowered the water levels in the river in areas of interest for the search. And also, the day Audrii went missing, a man who works at a mechanic shop said that McDougal was there to get a part for his Chevy Suburban. The mechanic said McDougal was covered in dirt and acting very suspiciously. Let's look at this man's criminal record. In 2001, he was convicted of possession of marijuana in Liberty County. In 2003, the same in Harris County. 2003, he was convicted of possession of a dangerous drug in Liberty County. In 2005, he was convicted in Baytown for evading arrest or detention. 2006, he was convicted of possession of a controlled substance in Harris County. He got 180 days in jail for that. 2006, he was convicted of theft in Harris County. He got 8 months for that. 2006, convicted of assault on a public servant, 3 years in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice for that. 2008, he was convicted of enticing a child with intent. He got 2 years for that. Records show for this case, he was indicted on an attempted indecency with a child nearly 17 years ago. The charge would have required him to register as a sex offender, but McDougal pleaded down to a child enticement in 2008. The charge does not require sex offender registration. Trigger warning, the victim in that case is now an adult and has spoken out. So I'm going to tell you very briefly what she said happened. He attempted to remove her pants after getting into bed with her. Get this. He was sentenced to 2 years, but got credit for almost 1.5 years served. Here's the thing. You have somebody, and we're not done with his charges yet, but you have a guy like this who has previous convictions against a child. How is he out? We live in a society where people who hurt children oftentimes get less sentences than people who are serving astronomical sentences for nonviolent offenses. To me, if you hurt a kid, it should be the maximum sentence with no parole, no good behavior. You're going away for a very, very long time. Even if you don't murder a child, but you hurt a child, that child has a life sentence to the trauma that you caused. How should it be that the perpetrator and the person who caused that trauma gets a lighter sentence than the victim? We have to start sending a very, very strong message in this country to people that abuse kids. When you get caught, you're not getting out of it. It's crazy, y'all. Back to his criminal background. In 2009, he was convicted of unauthorized use of a vehicle in Harris County. He got 180 days in state jail for that. 2010, he was convicted of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. He got 4 years for that. Now, the victim in this case was a former co-worker of McDougal's. This person has spoken out saying that they were drinking. He got more belligerent as the night went on, and I ended up throwing him out of the house, and he came back with a knife. I opened the door and told him he needed to leave. He came at me with a knife, and I had my shotgun. I hit him in the face with it and shut the door on him. In 2014, he was convicted of theft and reckless driving. 2019, he pleaded guilty to aggravated assault in Liberty County, 270 days in jail. 2023, he was convicted of resisting arrest. Get this, he's also accused of stabbing a man just last year. The victim said McDougal and a woman that he knew came to his house asking for help, saying their car battery was dead. The victim was jumping the car when McDougal stabbed him from behind. Now, after Audrii went missing, the victim in this case recognized McDougal in the news and contacted authorities. This is why he was locked up last week with aggravated assault with a deadly weapons charge while the search for Audrii was ongoing. David Feldman is the attorney representing the victim in this last case we just talked about, and said they could have gotten Stephen McDougal off the streets and probably prevented what we're going through now. He said his client is emotionally devastated, feels extremely bad for the family, and just doesn't really want to take the attention away from Audrii Cunningham. We just spent over a minute reading through this guy's prior charges. I mean, every time he's getting out with a very minimal sentence. Our judicial system has to start holding habitual and violent offenders accountable and keeping them behind bars for the rest of their lives. Everybody in the judicial system has to band together and get these people off the streets for good, away from our kids. It blows my mind, y'all. Off my soapbox. All right, let's go through the arrest affidavit for McDougal. It says, affiant shall show that on the morning of February 15th, 2024, Polk County Sheriff's Office detectives' investigation has revealed that said defendant, Don Stephen McDougal, along with the child victim, left the home of the child victim located at, it's redacted, in the Lake Livingston Village subdivision in Livingston, Polk County, Texas. McDougal and the child victim left in McDougal's 2003 Chevy Suburban with intent to drop the child victim off at the school bus stop near the entrance of the subdivision. It was discovered the child victim was not at that bus stop when a Livingston ISD bus arrived at the location and discovered that the child did not make it to Creekside Elementary that day. Affiant shall show that on February 20th, 2024, the body of the 11-year-old child victim, Audrii Danielle Cunningham, was located during a search of the Trinity River. Law enforcement dive teams located the child victim's body within the Trinity River near State Highway 59 South at the Polk-San Jacinto County line. San Jacinto County Justice of the Peace C. McGee ordered the child victim's body to be transported to the Harris County Medical Examiner's Office for autopsy and to determine the cause of death. The affiant shall show Don Stephen McDougal was a friend of the Cunningham family and resided on the family property in a cab-over camper. McDougal had access to the interior of the child victim's home. The affiant shall show that video footage and cell phone data places McDougal at 3 locations of interest: Evidence in connection with the defendant and the child victim was located at 2 of those locations and recovered. One of these locations is the Trinity River near State Highway 59 South, where Audrii's body was later located. Affiant shall show throughout the investigation, investigators were able to determine through cell phone data, video footage, and other forensic evidence McDougal lied about his whereabouts and activities on the day of February 15th, 2024. Affiant shall further show that upon recovery of the child victim's body, law enforcement discovered a large rock tied to the child victim's body. The rope used was consistent with rope that was observed in McDougal's vehicle on a traffic stop 2 days prior. Affiant shall further show that through investigation, there is sufficient evidence to show that on the date of February 15th, 2024, said defendant, Don Stephen McDougal, committed the offense of capital murder. It's also been said that he was assisting in the search, very typical of people that commit these kind of crimes. Just disgusting. That victim of McDougal's is speaking out. She was the victim from 2007, where in 2008, he pleaded guilty to those lesser charges, avoiding registering on the sex offender registry. She said the incident happened at her uncle's home. McDougal's sisters were friends of the family and they brought him along. She said after the incident happened, she ran for the door. He followed, grabbed her arm, and then she hit him. He went on to search the house for her, but she told her aunt before he found her. She recognized him when the news of Audrii being missing broke. She said that Brazoria County failed both her and Audrii. Horrible case. Terrible case. The man should not have been free in the first place, but here we are. Poor Audrii, right? None of the adults in her life that she lived with protected her and left her a sitting duck to this nasty child predator. Moving on, Lori Vallow was in court yesterday for a case management hearing. The judge says there's 88,000 pages of discovery forthcoming. The defense is still owed over 20 terabytes of information in the cases. They say it will take months to go through those. The judge said the current trial date may not be feasible. Currently, that's set for August 1st of this year. Lori's attorney, by the way, waived her right to be at the next status conference, so she will not attend. That is set for April 24th. She walked in that courtroom as if she were on display, several times looking back to make sure the camera was looking at her. Her husband, Chad Daybells, had a status conference today. His trial is getting close. It'll be just over a month. Opening statements April 1st. April Fool's Day. They talk about live streaming. There's obviously going to be an order that witnesses not watch any of the coverage. If you remember, Lori's trial was not live streamed. Audio was released at the end of the day, but this will be live streamed. We may not have any good shots of anything, but it is better than nothing, and it will be in real time. So at least we have that. He talks about witnesses attending trial and refers to the victim's statute that was used in Lori's trial. If you remember, there was a big fuss about Kay and Larry Woodcock potentially not being able to sit in until they testified. It was a whole mess. Prosecutor Blake said she is in the process of finalizing all that. Defense attorney Pryor has 7 expert witnesses and asked for 2 or 3 seats for those experts to be reserved so they can observe the trial. Judge Boyce said he could accommodate seating for personnel who are assisting in the case. The witness list is sealed, but subpoenas have already started going out to some witnesses and some yet to be sent. Prosecutor Blake said her concern is that witnesses could use the streaming as a way to get out of testifying. Defense attorney Pryor echoed that concern, and Judge Boyce said it's an interesting concern, but it can be resolved on a witness-by-witness basis if it were to come up. He said a violation is not an automatic sanction, and if he finds someone intentionally tried to get out of testifying, he can compel them to testify. He tells counsel to tell anybody that strategy would not be effective. There was a defense motion on January 30th to extend time for expert disclosures, and based on the state's response to that, John Pryor withdrew that motion today. There was also a filing of an amended indictment a few days ago. Judge Boyce wanted to know if John Pryor would raise any challenges to the amended indictment and if they should schedule a hearing. Chad's attorney, Mr. Pryor, said he will not be challenging that. They also think the trial will last through the end of May. They will see how jury selection goes, but they do think that's a reasonable time frame. The state plans to file some motions in limine next week. Judge Boyce said he would look at those and see where those fit into his schedule as far as hearing those in court. Defense attorney Pryor says he has 7 expert witnesses who will be flown in and put up with accommodations. He expects them in the second week in May. He said if the state isn't finished, he worries that the trial could end up and go past the end of May. Also, if they don't take that long, they could be scrambling to get these witnesses there, and they're not cheap. He worries about having to fly them in twice. Judge Boyce says he's not a fan of having witnesses come twice to testify. He thinks they can work with the witnesses to get all of their testimony in if the schedule is off for any reason. Moving on to Ruby Franke and Jodi Hildebrandt. They were sentenced earlier in the week. The judge sentenced them both up to 30 years in prison. It'll be up to the parole board to decide how long both the women will serve. Ruby's attorney says Ruby has become a serious student in her own actions. Ruby Franke is a delightful, respectful, and responsible person. Ruby did express remorse for her actions at her sentencing. She said, "My charges are just. They offer safety to my family, accountability to the public, and they did show mercy to me. For the past 4 years, I've chosen to follow counsel and guidance that has led me into a dark delusion. My distorted version of reality went largely unchecked as I would isolate from anyone who challenged me. To my babies, you are a part of me. I believed dark was light and right was wrong. I would do anything in this world for you. I took you from all that was soft and safe and good. I was the mama duck who was consistently waddling you to safety. I can see now that over the past 4 years, I was in a deep undercurrent that led us to danger. I took from you your mother. How terrifying this must have been for you. I will never stop crying for hurting your tender souls. You're so precious to me. I'm sorry." She also told her husband, "My husband of 23 years, you are the love of my life. I'm so sorry to leave to you what we both started together." And Kathy Russin was there from Law and Crime Network. She said Kevin was seen crying in court after she said that. She thanked the cops who arrested her, saying, "The moment she handcuffed me was the moment I gained my freedom." She also thanked the first responders and the hospital workers who took care of her children after they were rescued from the home. The state said that Ruby has shown remorse and said that she was willing to stay in prison as long as it took to unravel all of this that she's come to believe. The plea agreement says that Ruby tried to convince her children that they were evil and that the abuse was out of love because they needed to repent. The children were said to have believed this themselves. Jodi Hildebrandt, on the other hand, her attorney said, "My experience with Miss Hildebrandt is she is not the person she has been portrayed to be. She is not the person she has been portrayed to be." He said Jodi showed accountability when agreeing into the plea agreement. Jodi did speak and said, "I sincerely love these children. I desire for them to heal physically and emotionally." She said the reason she pleaded was so the children would not have to relive that trauma in court. Well, the state was not so positive about Jodi, saying that she still feels she is the victim. And according to jail calls, she blames the children for her current situation. Prosecutor said Ms. Hildebrandt just has not expressed any remorse and continues to justify her perspective of things, and to the degree that in her mind is clear that the perpetrator is the devil and the children, and she is a victim of the devil's grander causes. Jodi also said that whatever was said in the courtroom that day and also by the media would be lies. The state really just hopes that Jodi serves more prison time than Ruby. Jodi did not give a pre-sentencing statement, and the judge took note of that. The judge told Jodi, "Your conduct in this case was disastrous for the children. In this case, you terrorized children, and the results have been tragic." Look, at the end of the day, I think Ruby did better by herself. She's going to prison, so she gave a very deep apology and owned up to it all. Now, she'll see the parole board in August, I believe. And Jodi probably secured herself more time by seeming defiant and insecure. I really just think that Ruby did the best thing for Ruby in how she presented herself at her sentencing, seeming very remorseful. I got like zero sympathy for either one of these women. What they did was terrible. It's not the first time that Ruby Franke was accused of mistreating her children. Way back when they had that YouTube channel, people were already raising red flags. But interestingly, her oldest son, in a now deleted TikTok with, I believe, his girlfriend, they were doing something back and forth about meeting moms. And he said, "Oh, my mom's in prison." He didn't say it, it was on the screen. And then he just laughs. So it seems like he's pretty happy his mom's behind bars. That's it for today. So on Saturday, look for a 2-day catch up on the Hannah Gutierrez case and the Rust movie set shooting. Very interested to cover that after listening today. I think you guys are going to find it interesting as well. Hope you guys have a good rest of your evening. We'll see you soon.